Hey everyone, Kim here with Abundant Life Tarot. Thank you so much for joining me for another Mystery Mystic reading. We're exploring the energies surrounding what happened to Nancy Guthrie. She was last seen on January 31st, 2026 at approximately 9:45 p.m. And she was dropped off, I believe, by one of her daughters, not Savannah Guthrie, who is the famed journalist and news anchor, but I think it may have been one of her siblings. I could be wrong on that, but she was dropped off at 9:45 p.m. and that was the last time she was seen. And the alarm wasn't raised about her disappearance until the next morning when she didn't show up for church. So Nancy's maybe like congregation member noticed that she didn't come. And so from there, that's where everything started to have to be investigated. So I'm recording this reading on Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026 at 3:28 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time. All right, so we're looking at the energies of what may have happened. We'll see what Spirit is willing to share and release. Just some insights. I think they said that the pacemaker that Nancy has, it stopped working at 2 a.m. And then there was DNA collected. Now I watched the news conference today with the sheriff, Pima County Sheriff's Department, Poppet, and they weren't going to commit at that time that there was any blood evidence, although there were rumors or something coming out that there was blood evidence. But all they said was in this latest conference that it was DNA collected, and they have suspicions. We have Hag. They have suspicions that she was abducted, because she's not very mobile. She's very, cognitively, she's sharp as a tack, but she wouldn't be able to get very far on her own. So they said that there was evidence that indicates, I'm going to reshuffle this, that indicates that she may have been met with foul play. Okay. I'm shuffling the cards to see which ones jump. As I think about her, I look at her picture off to the side. We have water. When we're looking for clues in the cards, we're looking at any clues about why this happened, who may have done this. Clues on where she may have been taken to or where she may be located. Maybe also, is she still with us or not? Bone. Heart. If this is some stranger who's doing this. And we have ladder. Okay. All right. I'm going to zoom in so we can get a close-up look at the cards we've got. So, we've got the Poppet. And this card, it can denote manipulation, someone being brainwashed, having control over someone. So yeah, clearly this could mean simply, when you think of a doll or a puppet, you can move it from one place to the other. So the kidnapping, that's no surprise. Police have already indicated that there's some, they suspect an abduction. What we haven't heard yet, and law enforcement said that there's nothing of the sort of a ransom. That doesn't mean that money is not an issue here. Doesn't mean that a ransom note won't come later. But there's some things that tell me that it may be beyond ransom, or beyond just she was taken simply because someone wanted money. There's something going on here that whenever we have the very first card on the table, it's going to tell you and point you in the direction of what are we looking at. Is that a theme here, a theme that drove this situation? Now, pop it. And key meanings is manipulation and brainwashing, having control over someone. So this could be not just one person. It could be two people involved or more, and someone like cult-like mindset, or manipulating and brainwashing someone to do something to Nancy. It could be that someone, wanted to manipulate her, Nancy. Maybe they have been trying to and they were unsuccessful. But I get a sense that there could be more than one person who was doing something at the behest of another person. There's some kind of cult-like mindset going on with this situation when you get this card, especially with the keyword being brainwashing. Okay. Next up, we have the Hag. Now, I always say this card right here, whenever it comes up, it's always saying like something we really have to prepare ourselves for when we're going to get developments in this case. And hopefully we get developments in this case soon. The Hag card, the key meanings are fears, nightmares, bizarre or malicious encounters. And sometimes it can denote a woman or someone who has kind of the worst sides of the typical feminine, energies. What I mean by that is catty, emotionally volatile, in the sense, jealous, petty, even though men and women can be that. So it could be a man or a woman, but it's just what we would typically associate with what a hag is, right? You remember, do you grow up in a home where a relative has called somebody a hag? It's usually a woman, and it's usually someone who's not, seen in a favorable light. But the key meanings is fears, nightmares, bizarre, malicious encounters. So to invoke fear, to create a nightmarish situation for her and her family. Now, a lot of what's been coming out in the news is saying that this doesn't have anything to do with Savannah being a journalist. We don't know that yet. What I do know is that this has definitely incited fear in the immediate family for Savannah, probably for her sister and brother, or any relatives or neighbors or anyone. So there's that. And maybe it could mean that in the days leading up to, somebody close to the situation, close to the perp, was creating a nightmarish situation for themselves. Also, they were experiencing a nightmare and they did something drastic, such as go in and take Nancy. A bizarre or malicious encounter. This is not just like, oh, someone kidnapped her and they're holding her. This is something like we really have to mentally prepare ourselves for. I just have to say that and emphasize that. Now, the Sun card comes up, and this could just simply be something coming to light. Something coming to light. Mental clarity. Someone mentally fit. They're not insane. Could be that. And or it could be again, reiterating that Nancy is sharp. When I first heard the case or first heard that she disappeared, I assumed, before I knew all these other details, oh, maybe she wandered away. Maybe she's starting to get early signs of dementia or something like that. And they were like, no, law enforcement quickly dispelled that. So it could be that. But it also, the key meanings, I'm just going to say them. It says life, power, energy, mental clarity, or friendship. And sometimes when I look at the symbolism of the sun, it's like positivity, someone drawing from that, needing that, wanting to darken and dim that. Friendship is interesting. This is the first card that we've got that could denote some kind of acquaintance or intimate knowledge or accounting, like someone that could be near or distant to her. I want to be inclined to think that this would be a stranger, but this is the first card that indicates there could be something, like at the bare minimum, of someone who would be considered her friend or an acquaintance in her circle. Okay. But we hope not. We hope that it's, I don't know what we hope, but that would be a betrayal. Water. Mysterious feelings, subconscious thoughts, change. It could be a literal body of water. Now we're in Arizona. To me, my understanding is like very deserty, but of course I'm sure there's bodies of water that could be nearby, little streams or maybe a river. I don't know. I have to look at the map. So it could be about a physical location of where maybe the perp or perps live or took her. Or it could be that this is symbolic of this being an emotionally volatile situation. Dark feelings ran deeper than we knew about this perp. Like they may have presented themselves as this positive person in the community or at work or whatever they did in life. But really, they're, like this card is saying, subconscious thoughts, mysterious feelings. Okay. Now, let's look at the Bell card. With the Bell card, it says an awakening. Someone could have woke her up, startled her, incited fear, a warning. Maybe she received some sort of warning. Maybe didn't even share it with her children, her adult children, Nancy. The other key meaning that often comes up with the Bell card, for me as a reader, whenever it comes up, it came up in a recent reading I did on Mystery Mystic, the Alexis Ware reading, where I talk a lot about it being a tolling of something. The key phrase in the book is beginning or end of some important event. The tolling of something, okay, when you hear of like the statute of limitations tolling, let's say the statute of limitations is January 31st, 2026, and something had to happen in order to get something rolling, get something done. And there were warning signs, maybe not to Nancy, but maybe to someone around or someone who's around the perp. There were warning signs. There's some kind of ending, a beginning or an end of some important event. Okay. Then we have Bone. This card is very worrisome since it's sitting underneath the Hag card. The Bone card, oh dear, is about mortality, leaving something behind, having something to hide, strong foundations. I can sense that, yeah, DNA was left behind, probably by the perp or perps. Mortality, the time is of the essence. We want to believe that Nancy's still with us, but there's a good chance that she may have crossed over with this card. Let's pray that she's still with us and that she's waiting to be rescued. But this is a very troubling card sitting underneath the Hag card. Someone having something to hide about this event that was in a beginning or an ending. The tolling of the situation. Okay. Then we have the Heart card, which I find interesting because she has a pacemaker. And so Spirit is trying to tell us, like, yeah, at the time of the pacemaker going out is when she was in grave danger for her life, because that doesn't seem right? You know, if it goes out, that is probably indicative of her, being in, her life being in danger, if not ending. So we don't want that. We want the opposite of that, but we have to speak to what we're seeing in the cards. The heart card is an anatomical heart. And so that's why I'm feeling like these two together, it's like this is upsetting. Now, some symbolism, some metaphorical meanings to the heart is strong emotions, affection, love, and compassion. You see how it's sitting underneath this card, where it could be like friendship or strong emotions. Remember how I said that somebody could present to be kind and compassionate and affectionate and loving, but deep down inside there's something lurking deep down that could attack. And this is also sitting next to the ladder card, someone wanting to level up in life, and maybe, you know, this is a part of leveling up. Okay, so we have the ladder card, and ladder could literally mean a couple of things. Physically, it can mean someone, you know, climbing up using a ladder, like an actual ladder, could mean that to get into the home, or to, you know, maybe they have an occupation where they have to use ladders. It could be something like that, right? But from what I can tell in the picture of the home, it looks like it's a flat ranch, one-story home, or even those mesa kind of homes, you know, those beautiful desert type of homes. They're one story. And that would make sense if she has limited mobility. So it wouldn't be that necessarily, but it could be maybe an occupation. The other thing about this ladder, in a past occupation or current occupation, another thing about this ladder is this card meaning is about high achievements, overcoming obstacles, or wanting to step up in life. And doing all of this started out under brainwashing, manipulation, wanting to control a situation or someone, and then as a result of misguided and thinking that this was going to level them up, grant them ascension, in some kind of something that's of importance, level up, right? You could climb up the ladder, the rungs of the ladder. So we'll see how this plays out. But these two are these actually right here. And there's some kind of, as this case unfolds, we're going to learn more about this precipitating event that had triggered this whole thing. I do feel like she was targeted. I don't think this is going to be like, oh, a random like person who's going out and kidnapping helpless, immobile, elderly people and doing this. I feel like this is very much targeted. You have to let me know what you all think here. Okay. All right, let's move on to the next deck. I'm going to keep going. Let's look at the Divine Shadow Self Oracle. Bully. So that goes with that Puppet and Hag card. Depression. Okay. So we've got, I mean, you could be a depressed bully, yes, for sure. But it feels like this is like two or more people. We have drunk. There's some sort of influence, or drunk with power, right? Or it could be drunk off of alcohol. Oh my gosh. I get chills. Brainwash. And literally one of the key words in the guidebook for Puppet is brainwashed, right? Brainwashing. That's heavily going on here. We have empty. Someone feeling empty, devoid of, you know, of emotion. Empty. And bitterness. Okay. I'm going to bring these down a notch so we can see them a little bit better. All right. So, like I mentioned, I feel like, yes, it could be very much one person at the helm of this, only one person. But to me, I keep picking up on there's a main person, like running things, and then someone helping at the behest of this main person. We have bully. And then we've got depressed and drunk and brainwashed, empty, and bitterness. So it feels like this person, it was brainwashed by this bully. This bully is, capitalizing on someone who may be depressed, who may be empty, feeding alcohol to them, or maybe the bully and or this help that hopefully when law enforcement apprehends the responsible parties, that they get everybody who is involved, and not just the person who did the kidnapping or did something harmful to Nancy, but everybody who had a hand in this. But we have drunk. And like I said before, drunk could be drunk off power. It could be drunk like maybe this person drinks, this depressed person. It could be everybody drinks and they were heavily under the influence at the time of this whole thing happening or right before this happened. This bully engages in brainwashing, coercion, coercive control, constantly monitoring of what others are doing, monitoring and surveilling things. Okay. The empty card can mean that goes with this depression, this depressed person, but it can also mean that this bully is devoid of emotions and compassion, but they may portray themselves as something other than that with the sun card. Deep down inside, they have the one thing they do hold on to and have is bitterness, highly bitter, making them capable of doing malicious and vicious things. Okay, that's what we've got so far. Let's keep going. Since we have law enforcement suspecting foul play in this missing persons case, I'm going to go ahead and use this deck. I usually only like to use this particular deck when I get a strong indication either from law enforcement or gut feeling that foul play is suspected. Spirit, what can you tell us about motive or who or clues or anything that you can share with us or willing to share with us? There was a motive for committing the crime. You see the little money bags. Okay. Remember how I talked about the ladder card leveling up? Now, there wasn't a ransom note, but that doesn't mean that, someone didn't become hired to do this, to be brainwashed to do this, for garnering favor. Sometimes, I don't know if there's gang activity in nearby towns or counties, but you never know. Like money has a way of touching a crime that we may not be able to really think about right now. Right now we're thinking kidnap and ransom, but it could be I'm hiring someone to do this, or I'm paying someone to do this, or you will get paid for doing this. You know what I mean? Or it could be money was being hampered or prevented from coming to the perp. And so in order to do something like this with Nancy, this could then, make it where they can get money. So there we go. We have suspect lives near the scene of the crime. Okay. A suspect. Okay, I want to reshuffle. I want two, but I want them to jump singly, I think. I give instructions on my jumping cards. Forensic science field will provide important clues. Okay, that's reassuring. They did collect DNA, so we know that to be true. Social media will provide valuable clues. Spontaneous behavior or mental illness contributed to the crime. Okay, so remember how we talked about depressed and drunk and empty? So there could be something to this. Social media could be of the perps, inadvertently saying something about being in the area, doing the crime, or people really starting to talk about this and starting to share theories that leads to an arrest, or knowing someone who's acting peculiar, and then they call it in because of the social media frenzy that's going to probably ensue. but social media also could provide valuable tools for tracking purposes. You know how like Facebook will track your location or where you're at? It could be something like that, that metadata that is stored in the apps, the phones, would be also rich with information too. So it's not just, what's on social media, like messages and comments, but it could be also the actual data of tracking where the person went to. Okay. But it can be that this person, one of the people who I think is at the helm, likes to be in the limelight. Okay. So there's something to that. One more card, Spirit, since you've given me 5, I'd like an even 6. I'll have to take a couple of pictures. Perp profile indicates narcissist or sociopath. This makes sense to me because of these cards: puppet, hag, okay, bully, brainwash. I can't see these. And bitter, drunk with power. Okay. Wow. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's a motive. There's a motive. And this tells me targeted. Okay. But the good news is we've got clues. Sometimes when I get this card, it could be that someone who temporarily lives close by or once upon a time lived close by but came back to the area to do this crime, but knows the area, knows her neighborhood well, something like that, right? But it literally also could be that the person lives very close by to her, in close proximity to her. You all have to let me know what you think these cards are saying about what happened. All right. We're going to keep going. So now we're going to work with make sure I have a picture up. We're going to work with my Secrets Revealed True Crime Oracle deck. So it's a lot of cards, 180. So I break it up in sections when the decks are larger to make it easier to shuffle. And we're just going to see what we get. So first we got power control. Oof. Choke. Dear. Let's take this section. Take this. Move that a little bit. Okay. Political affiliation. We'll talk about that in a moment. The only reason I breathe deeply is because Savannah is a journalist. She doesn't politically identify one way or the other, but she has interviewed politicians in the past. And so I don't know. Hopefully it's nothing more than just the affiliation of the perps. Remember how I said that the perp likes to be seen like the person behind the scenes about orchestrating all this or motivating someone or brainwashing someone to do all of this? Could be that, right? Could be simply that. But we have to consider all aspects of this card. Okay. Investigation, investigator, PI. I'll talk about that in a moment. I'm going to put a few rows down. Let's go over here. I like to take different sections and shuffle. Greed, power control, greedy, and power control. Dangerous combination. Okay. Oh. Cult or groupthink? I've said this before. I don't know, friends. It's interesting. It's 180 cards. We have here setup or stage. Okay. Heavy speculation. Oh dear. It's going to be one of them cases. Of course, it's high profile because of Savannah But, you know, also it's just really suspicious. Like, this seems like a really safe neighborhood from what I can tell. And Nancy seems like a really genuine, kind person, just based on her energies and what people describe her as, you know. So, yikes. Swamp. So it could lead to a situation where people want to heavily speculate about what could be happening, and people holding firm on their beliefs about what happened, even when the truth comes out. When this card comes out, even when the truth comes out, even if it was just one, maybe two people in the know or did the crime, doesn't matter. If people have their beliefs, they have their beliefs. So, and that goes also strongly with this cult or groupthink card, but also that, remember I mentioned like very early on in this reading today, I got the Pop It card and I said, oof, feels like cult energy to me. I don't know. Who's like a cult these days? We have boat, could be local, maybe local politics at hand. I don't know. She's at the national level of journalism for those of my peeps who are outside of the United States. So Savannah Guthrie, Nancy's daughter, she's at the national level. She works for the Today Show. Okay. Any additional messages, Spirit? Cell phone. Provide critical clues. And I heard in the press conference today, law enforcement saying that they've been gathering, I think, you know, they do the geofencing. I don't know if they've gone to that extent yet, but then also getting cell phones, downloading data, and assessing cell phone evidence. Bloodline. Okay. Ooh. Unloved or unwanted. Okay. Segment of the, there's a part of this, the segment of the population who doesn't feel loved, feels thrown away. Okay. Spying. That's interesting. I'll scoot the cards down in just a minute. We're going to get one more card. Spirit, thank you. Parent. Okay. Okay. All right, let's get into it. Scooter on down. Scooter on down as best we can. All right, we got a lot of cards here. So we have power control over greed. I talked about this. This is somebody who wants to maintain control at all times, run things, manipulate people and things and situations for their benefit. We are dealing with someone who is dangerous and greedy and power hungry. Choke can sometimes be symbolic of wanting to choke back the truth. So stifling, or wanting to prevent someone from saying something that they've seen or witnessed. It could even be Nancy herself, or it could be someone we hear in the future of experiencing something like this in their life going on related to the situation somehow, some way. It also can indicate some kind of happening, something like this happening to Nancy at some point or another, which is alarming. Political affiliation, I touched on this. It could mean local politics, since it's in this line of cards with the local card sitting here, set up or staged to look political. Spying, someone could have been spying. We'll talk about that, but someone part of this whole setup, to make it and paint it out to be something like this, political. I did a little Google search about who Nancy's daughter Savannah is married to, and she's married to Michael Feldman. He is a Democratic, consultant. I forgot the exact title, but he basically helps, probably with campaigning or helps with strategies on the Democratic Party side. That doesn't mean she's a Democrat, but it could mean she has, liberal leaning ideologies. I don't know. We don't know. She doesn't identify as anything when you do a Google search, but this is interesting to me. But again, this can not necessarily be about Nancy's side of things. This could be about the perp side and who they claim to be. Who are they affiliated with? Political affiliation. Maybe more to do with their affiliation local politics, statewide politics, or national politics, or even geopolitical affiliations, okay? The investigation is underway. FBI is assisting, so that's good. This is a small county. Maybe they may not have experience with these kind of situations, so they are getting assistance. And this card could be that they hopefully will be the ones cracking the case. Also, a PI may need to be hired. We have the PI here, but they're doing round the clock investigating, all hands on deck. Is what I'm getting a sense of. But they're going to have a hard time stamping out heavy speculation as we see it sitting over the heavy speculation card. Let's talk a little bit about cult or groupthink. Now, could mean a few things in this case. It could mean a lot of people are going to think one way or the other, and it's going to be difficult to convince them otherwise. And I say that because it's in the same going this way, same line with the heavy speculation card. But I get a sense it's like the old classic groupthink or cult like mentality going on with this case somehow, some way, or at least peripherally, meaning someone maybe who did this crime is someone who is kind of, part of groupthink or cult like mentality, so there's that. There's some part of setting up or staging this one way or the other. I don't want to go too far into what I could think of because I don't want to guess. I'm just looking at this card here. You all let me know what you think the setup or stage card is saying to you. When I do these readings, it is not just me spouting off what I think and what I like to call in my other intuitive, my other thinkers, the people who are critical thinkers, my intuitives, my psychics, my other fellow readers, and ask you, did you do a reading on this case and what came up for you? Or if you see the cards that come up in my reading, what are you picking up on? I don't share, it's like, I don't feel greedy about this. I think all intuitive hands on deck. So leave a comment and share what's coming up for you. Setup or stage, heavy speculation, I talked about that. Also, for those who end up doing readings on this, you have to understand that when I get this kind of card, it tells me that heavy speculation has an energy and a vibration, just like the truth does, just like anything that we're trying to predict on. And you have to be careful on what you're labeling as truth. You have to be careful about what you are saying out into the ethers, because a lot of times rumors will feel just as real, if not more real, than what the truth is, if you catch my drift. Whenever I get that card. Swamp. This is a swampy situation. The swamp, drain the swamp is what Spirit, planted in my head just now. Drain the swamp. Ooh, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. It could be just an emotionally murky situation, especially next to the boat card, symbolic of this water card that we got earlier. So there's, it could be somebody who has access to fleeing and trying to flee, or even owning a boat, or, a part of someone who has a boat, or someone who does trafficking through boating. I don't know. It could be simply just metaphorically, emotionally deep situation that runs deep. Someone who has the means or has access to the means to flee. Just trying to think of all the different ways, the boat card, but it is sitting next to the swamp. Also, evidence could be dumped into a body of water, or someone could be, God, I hope, Nancy, near a body of water, in a body of water. Hopefully not. Hopefully this is just all the different things I'm mentioning here. Local, someone local here. We picked up on that earlier when we saw the suspect lives near the scene of the crime. Local politics maybe, since it's in this line. Cell phone records, we will be doing, I think like the triangulation of the phone, like of the towers, to be able to capture who was in the area at the time and try to get those records. And then geofencing as well to collect that information, that data. cell phone records of people who were supposed to be around her, who end up not being around her. That's critical too, just as much as critical as the people who were last known to have seen her. Okay? Cell phone records will be critical. It will hold a lot of information and data, like I talked about with that social media card over here. You can't see it. It's over there. Bloodline. Aryan, or like, I don't know. Some people might be like, oh, maybe someone distantly related to her or related, allegedly. I don't know. Or it could be brothers who are responsible for this. I don't know why Aryan came up to me in my mind, but it did. Hopefully, I don't know. I get creepy vibes in terms of the perps involved. Maybe purifying the bloodline. I don't know. Something weird going on with that. Swampy. Someone feeling in society, generally unloved or unwanted, or maybe one of the people in the know may have fallen pregnant and in an unwanted pregnancy situation, or just simply someone feeling unloved and unwanted related to this situation that happened with Nancy. It could just simply be that. Spying is of concern because it could be that she was being spied upon for days, weeks leading up to her disappearance. It could be someone's being spied upon after this to catch someone, like police doing police surveillance. It could be that as well. It could be both. And then lastly, we have parent. Someone's parent, she was a parent, a grandparent, Nancy. It could be a parent ends up diming out or telling on their child who may have some involvement with this. Maybe they've seen something, have some sort of conversations. I don't know. Parent is interesting to me. Many of these cards are interesting. I'll just say that. All right, I'm going to take a picture of this, and we'll see if we have some time or room for a couple more. One, maybe two more decks. I don't want this to get too long and too away from us, but clearly something is going on here. And it's worrisome. All right, I'll be right back. So now we're going to work with the Divine Crime Oracle. Let me get this divided. It's also a large deck, so I'm going to, or when I say large, lots of cards. So I'm going to shuffle them in sections. Similar to what I did with my Secrets Revealed True Crime Oracle reading we just did. Spirit, what do you wish to reveal to us about 35 to 60 kilometers? Okay. The dog is barking. Unknown to police, not in the system, clean record. Okay. Oof. Okay. Sexual, R-word, assault, or non-consensual. But non-consensual could be like you're taking somebody against their will. Although there are cards in this deck that indicate, kidnapping or abduction. Days. Okay. We'll talk about that. And it also could mean someone else associated with the perp. Male victim. In the days leading up to, it comes out later that they were subjected to some kind of attack. Oh, held at ransom. Okay. Now that hasn't come out yet. We have, law enforcement indicates that there's been, I don't think there's been any ransom note, but that is an interesting card. Desert, dry or hot. Okay. Opportunity, random or impulse. 1,000 kilometers plus. This is concerning because it can indicate someone who will move away, has the ability to move away, has the ability to flee. Rubbish, landfills, dumpster or trash, discarding of evidence, could be thousands of miles away. Jealousy issues or personal. Okay. Bitterness. Remember we have the bitterness card there. This is an interesting read. Mountains. Shooting. Gunshot. Gun. Weapon. Some kind of weapon. Months. So we have days and months on the table. Planned. Now it doesn't seem like it goes with this impulse card, but there's 3 different meanings on this one versus this just one key word here, and it's planned. And that's the sense that I got. Ooh, years. Getting a lot of timing messages. Let's do one more row. Awaiting rescue delays. Oh dear. Female victim. June is of significance. And one more. Northwest. Okay. Let's get into these. 35 to 60 kilometers could represent, sorry, it's kind of far off, but just trust me when I say it's 35 to 60 kilometers. I don't know what that converts to in miles, but it could represent the distance from where the perp lives to where her house is, Nancy's house. It could be round trip. They've traveled from gathering her to where they went, to take her temporarily. It could, so 35 to 60 kilometers is of importance here. Now, I feel like we're dealing with 2 people, at least. Could be more, but at least 2 main people. And I don't mind being wrong. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But we have here unknown to police, not in the system or clean record. This could be that person that doesn't have a record, not in the system in the way we know, unknown to police. They could be in the system, but unknown to this particular police department, or that they have a clean record, one of the perps, which, there's that. Then we have SR, assault and non-consensual. This is alarming. And it can represent something that happened to her, allegedly, or something that happened to someone tied to the perps, and just making this story even more like wild as the story unfolds, as the case moves forward. Days leading up to someone being assaulted non-consensually. We have days, also it could be days preceding her disappearance. They have been watching her. We saw that spying card earlier. They were waiting for the perfect opportunity in the days to come to do it. So there could have been an element of impulse that happened, because it was like, right after she was dropped off at 9:45 at night, they waited a while till she's good and settled, startled Nancy, sometime in the hours after she's dropped off, and then proceeds to do what they did to her. But the whole thing was planned. Okay. So then we have male victim. It may come out later that someone else has had dealt with dealings with the perp before. It could be somebody else that is later victimized. It could be someone else who claims they themselves are a victim, even if they might have their hands tied to this. Remember, we have cards like brainwash and manipulation. So there could be someone who makes those kind of allegations. We also maybe will hear some point in the distant future about a ransom note or about rumblings of ransom. Now, sometimes when we do these readings, we could pick up on the energies of rumor and speculation, that this was all money related. They know that, the perps know that Nancy is the mother of a famous journalist, right? And so you naturally would think it's just simply only about that. But there's a lot more percolating here. The motive is, yes, it's about ascension and leveling up and being greedy and power hungry, but it feels different than just simply at face value ransom. So sometimes a card will come up to get us talking about that. What are some key elements that we see with ransom cases? Ransom cases, from what I understand, are pretty rare, at least in the United States. Now, maybe in other countries that I don't follow, it may be different, but at least in the United States, I would have to do some research to see, and I might just do that when I get a little bit of time after my work today to look that up, because we need to understand the elements of ransom to see if this would be even something on the table. It also could just simply be showing someone who's kind of beat up, told, like Nancy could be told that we're going to contact your daughter, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to expect this, and ultimately, and that was part of the plan, but that fell through. It could be something along those lines as well. And that's why we ain't see no ransom note, because it fell through. That part of the plan fell through. But somebody, a witness or accessory after the fact, or someone who's aiding and abetting, could come out later and say, well, this is what we told her, this is what we were going to do, but that ended up not panning out. We know that this happened in Arizona. Maybe she's taken to a deserty place outdoors. I don't know. Maybe they live off in a more rural, deserty area, the perp, or where she's been taken. We talked a bit about the opportunity random in postcard. We have rubbish, landfill, dumpster. 1,000 kilometers, like I mentioned before, could deal with someone who will try or have set their sights to leave the area completely and go very far away, as far as possible, to either live and start a new life or to distance themselves as far as they can from this crime, or to discard of key evidence, since we have here rubbish, landfill, dumpster, and trash. I hope that they did look in the areas of trash, dumpsters, landfills, law enforcement, because I can offer some clues. She was also, now, when I lived in California, our trash days were like Monday mornings. So we would always have to put our trash out, our reciprocals or whatever, the trash bins, the night of Sunday. So that way it would be picked up Monday morning, or you take them out early Monday morning. It could be that someone was strategic in that as well, and making sure that they could get rid of evidence as they did, because she didn't go to church. And that's also part of the plan as well. Like, I feel like Spirit is telling me, like, the perps had an inkling that the alarm would be raised pretty soon after she disappeared, at least no later than when she was expected to go to church. So somebody knew her movements, knew that about her. Okay, jealousy issues are personal. This is something personal. Personal between the perps and this manipulative cult-like situation going on. Or they perceive it as personal, or it could be something personal against Nancy, which I hope is not. But I'm just interpreting the cards. Someone being jealous, wanting what she has or what her family has. Mountains, I'd have to look at this card a bit further, or look at the area, the terrain. Are there hills, mountains? I don't know. So I don't know. But maybe there's street names, towns with the name Mountain. Like we have a town in California, Mountain View. streets, Mountain Lane or something. You know what I mean? Like, it could just be a name that gives us a clue about where the person may have taken her to. Skyline. I don't know. Anyways, it could be a mountain of information. It could be metaphorically speaking about a mountain of information. A weapon was used to threaten or harm, as we see here, or someone who has an infatuation or a huge arsenal of weaponry. Okay. Months. Now, these two timing cards, days and months, could either predict, it could be days, a matter of days that we find out information, or days to months, that this case moves in a different direction, or it could talk about the past of the days and months preceding. So days preceding, I feel like something was going on, like a tolling of the event that put this into motion. Like, now is the time to do this to Nancy, and we're gonna do it now. Something ended or something began, and now we're gonna do it. But there months in in preceding, there could be something going on as well. Months could be as far back as June. June is of significance. June could represent one of the perp's birth months. It could represent something happening in the month of June in the past, or something coming up in June in the future related to the case. We talked about this being planned. I get a sense this is all the way planned. This is targeted. Years in the making, which goes to me with this whole political affiliation and cult or group think card that we got. But I don't know. It could be years of planning or jealousy issues mounting. I don't know. We'll have to see. We have here awaiting rescue and delays. There could be delays mentioned. I don't know. I don't know if there was anything. I don't want to alarm anyone. I don't think that there could have been anything that would have stopped these people from doing what they do. This was the trajectory of how things were going to unfold, and there wouldn't have been much saving or preventing her from being kidnapped. So there's that. But there could be something that comes out later about delays, maybe related to another female victim. Sure, it could be her. It could be Nancy. She is a female victim, but it could be someone else. We have the male victim here awaiting rescue, but delays. Delays should have been happening, or delays were happening as it relates to this case, and we'll see how that unfolds as the time goes. Keyword delays. We talk about June. June is of significance. Lastly, northwest. Maybe someone who lives 35 to 60 kilometers or traveled 35 to 60 kilometers northwest. It could be someone who ends up going 1,000 kilometers northwest. Later down the line, we'll see. We shall see. All right. I think I might try for one more deck. We'll see. I'll be right back. Okay, so let's see if we can get any defining characteristics about the person or persons who did it, who's in the know or involved. Skin condition, red hair, could be auburn hair, hazel eyes. Okay. Markings. One of the people is short or short-ish. Medium skin tone. Left hand dominant, perhaps. Or ambidextrous. Or one of the people is left hand dominant. I'm left hand dominant. Or ambidextrous. Kind of makes you a little bit more of a unique part of the population, allegedly. So we've got brunette, darkish hair. We have someone involved who has a skin condition, something going on with their skin. It could be bad acne. It could be, what is all the, what do you call it, eczema. It could be any kind of noticeable skin condition that this person is dealing with or has or will develop over time. Also, for those who, this might sound strange, but, you know, someone who might live near the area who's acting pretty skittish and weird right before and after her disappearance, and you notice them starting to really have a real outbreak of some kind of nasty condition, that might be your clue. You know, somebody might be a little stressed out. We don't want to go accusing anyone, but it'll just be a peculiar little development that only people closest to the situation will know. Red hair, so it could be someone, the same person with brownish, brunette, reddish hair or auburn hair, or it could be two different people with red hair or auburn hair, brown hair. Someone, one of the peeps having hazel eyes or light colored eyes, or them light brownish looking eyes that look kind of hazily. Markings, tribal markings. I do have a card in here for tattoos, but sometimes this card comes up for special kind of markings within the tattoos, or certain kind of markings or branding even on the person. So it could be something like that. I don't know. We'll see how that card plays out. Short statured, one of the people in the know are involved, or short-ish, or targeted her because she's short. I don't know. We'll see how this short card comes up, or maybe short man's complex comes to mind. Even if they're average height, maybe they have short man's complex. Watch it come out to be somebody who's super big and tall. I don't know, but we're just going with what the cards are saying. We have medium skin tone. One of the perps or people in the know is got tanned or medium skin toned skin color. And then, like I said, left hand dominant, or dominantly uses their left hand, or are ambidextrous. I tried to be ambidextrous when I was little, or granted, someone was trying to teach me in school to be, literally tried to force me to write with my right hand, and it was like, it was awful. So it could be someone who can work with both hands or is left hand dominant. Okay. Let's pause. I'm going to use this Who Clarifying Oracle. Let's see. Nearby. We keep getting that. That's the one flying in from out of town. Although the 1,000 kilometers could indicate that, right? Leo. We'll talk about that in a moment. It could be a fire sign. Fleeting, and then we have Libra. I'll just stop there for now. If we do a more detailed tarot reading, I usually like pull out more, like if we know that there's multiple perps, I try to pull out a tarot deck, ask specific questions and about each perp that I'm suspecting involved, right? And then try to flesh out individually. Right now we're just gathering different characteristics that stand out. Nearby, close by, maybe arrested nearby, evidence of their living nearby. Leo is one of the astrological signs. They could have Leo in their sun, moon, or rising signs, or it could be they have a lot of fire in their chart. This person is, you know, some of their strengths, it says outgoing, humorous, faithful, and generous, but the weaknesses, and that's what we're most interested in, is patronizing, stubborn, and dramatic. Okay, fleeting, not quite sure what this means. Maybe a fleeting connection in Nancy's eyes or people closest to her, this connection, this, you know, friendship. But for them, that was all that was needed. Even probably being, you know, close to her may have been just a fleeting thing. But then it led to all of this. Libra could have air, heavy air in their chart, or Libra in their sun, moon, or rising. So this could also indicate that there's at least two main people orchestrating this, or involved, or protecting one another, etc. Someone in the know, even. Not unwittingly helping, but wittingly helping. Could be unwittingly, but I think very much complicit. We have here strengths: sociable, idealistic, and diplomatic, and weaknesses: indecisive, gullible, and resentful. And that really goes to some of the cards that we talked about earlier over here. Okay. All right. I think, did I grab it? All right. I'm going to stop here because I'm going to pull a few timing cards and then we're going to wrap up from there. Touch on time elements with the This Time Oracle, and then we'll wrap it up. This is a long reading, but I just wanted to get it all out because I don't know if I'll be doing another reading unless this case drags on or key developments happen and we want to jump in and do a detailed tarot reading, you know. So October is of significance. We don't want to just constantly keep coming back for readings. July is of significance, unless we have to. March is of significance. Next month is March. We got a lot of months on the table. Remember the months card that came up in the Divine Crime Oracle too. So we have tomorrow. Wow. Okay. I know that we're not going to get another presser until Thursday unless there's a break in the case, I should say. That's according to today's press conference. Lots of months. Lots of months, friends. And I'll tell you what I think that could mean. I want Spirit, one more card. Spring. Okay. I'll tell you what I think that can mean. Because we did, in the Divine Crime Oracle, get some we got the months card as well as days and the years, but rapid movement. Okay, that's good. Okay. I'm using now the Wind Clarifying Oracle. So we'll stop there for now. So far we've got October, July, March, tomorrow, Thursday, November, next month, September, spring, October. This is why I feel like there's multiple people involved. It could be months representing their birthdays, or it could just be when key things happen preceding her disappearance, and the months preceding, and the days preceding the disappearance, as well as future developments. And if there's multiple parties involved, there's going to be multiple arraignments, multiple court hearings, all sorts of things happening. And these could be the key months associated. It could be, gosh, I don't know. It's going to be interesting though. So we've got October, July, March, November, September on the mat. It could represent, like I said, birth months. It could represent key timing elements in the past or in the future. We also, March is next month, and then we also have the next month card here. So something of importance happening then, hopefully, in this case. We shall see. It could be March of 2027. I don't know, but I get a sense it could be next month. Tomorrow could be a break in the case again, or something released. I'm recording this as of Tuesday, the 3rd of February, so who knows? But it could be Thursday. We know that that's the next press conference from law enforcement unless something breaks tomorrow. But it also could be Thursday preceding her disappearance. Remember how I got the days card? There could have been someone doing staking out of her residence. Then it could be something of importance happening with the perp or perps in their group. Thursday preceding her disappearance. Also, tomorrow could signify they knew she would be discovered missing the very next day. Like, there's no way that if they have been following her and watching her and spying on her, they know her habits. They know she goes to church. They know probably when she spends time with family, when she comes home, they would know that the alarms would be raised or tolled. And that could be also what that bell card that came up earlier today. It could be, they knew. They almost wanted that. That's part of the plan. I don't know how that makes sense in the grand scheme of things, but that's what I'm picking up on. We talked about the months, and spring is of significance. It could be the past spring, last spring, 2025, or preceding even that, or it could be this coming spring that we really get some wet, rapid movement in this case. This is because it's high profile. I get a sense that they're going to really be wanting to solve it and crack the case as soon as possible, because I think law enforcement is facing the reality with that heart card we got earlier and the bone card that she may not be with us, especially with the heart pacemaker being out or not working. That's very alarming. And so now you got to apprehend whoever would do something like this, and you got to find her, right? Even if there's an off chance, and I don't see how, but even if there's an off chance she is alive, they got to find her. So rapid movement makes sense, that this is going to move quickly and swiftly in the investigation. We pray that that happens. We pray for her, Nancy. We're praying for her family, her loved ones, the community, that the lives she's touched. We're praying for all of you, because I know how scary this could be. And I just can't even imagine someone going in and kidnapping my mother, in the dead of night and doing something awful. It's just, oh my God, what is going on in America right now? What is going on in the world? So yeah, prayers up for Nancy and her loved ones. I am so sorry that this even happened. We raise awareness for the missing over here, and we hope that, they are found swiftly and quickly. All right, friends, that's it for now. Let me know what you think. Give me your intuitive hits. Think about questions as the days stretch on and you happen upon this video and you're like, well, why don't we ask this for an upcoming reading? When you ask for readings, and this is also important, it really helps me to know what angle it is that you want to approach the reading. What I mean by that is some people will say a name of a person, of a case that's already gone to trial. And that's, they already have people apprehended. What do you want to know? Do you want to know that they got the right person? Do you want to know what was the person thinking? Why did they do this? Motive. If motive was never expressed, it just helps me, because otherwise I'm I don't know what to do with your recommendation other than just add it to my list and kind of scout out what you might be wanting. So pose a question that you would like answered. Pertaining a case that I've either covered in the past or a future case. It could be a new case, brand new to us, it just happened, or it could be a cold case. But I'd love to know what it is you want to explore in the reading. That really helps me out, okay? Do me a favor on your way out, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It really helps me. And I appreciate you. You take very good care of yourselves, okay? Whew, stay warm for those who are in cold climates. Stay cool for those of us who are in warmer climates. And I send you all so much love. Bye for now.